What do you guys know about skin color? Like, why do we have different pigmentations of skin?
I was going to say it's due to the amount of melanin that someone has in their skin. So, like, white people lack melanin and black people have it to a certain degree or a certain amount.
And what does melanin do?
It, like, colorizes the skin or adds pigmentation.
Mm-hmm.
And it also protects you from the sun. And in areas like around the equator, you know, there's more direct sunlight. So people whose ancestry is there evolved to have more melanin in their skin to protect them.
So the idea is that if your ancestors are from certain ancestors going way back, right, are from certain regions where there's a lot of sun, you're going to be
Darker.
because melanin, you're going to have melanin. And melanin, what's it do?
It adds pigmentation to the skin, and then, like Weston said, it protects you from UV radiation.
Okay. And then why do we need the sun? Like what's like the whole... So, for example, right? So we have all of this... People are really uptight about skin, right?
Yeah.
Like, like your skin. What do people say about your skin?
Not much, because I'm considered light skin.
Yeah.
So more so in winter months I get a lot paler, and then in the summer I kind of darken a little more when I tan, or I tan easier. But because of my skin color, I haven't faced like really any discrimination necessarily.
Do you like to tan?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Do you put lotion on?
I usually put suntan lotion on and sunscreen.
Yeah. What SPF do you use?
30 and above.
30 and above? Bro, how about you? Like 100 and above?
Usually yeah, like it's even like I'll have 50 SPF on sometimes and I'll still burn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rarely burn. I think I've only burned once, and that was because I was outside.
Oh yeah,
for
and
too
I'll
long.
also burn like in like April and like late September too. Yeah.
Yeah. I burn too, but not in the sun. All right, man. And you, what do your parents say when you get really dark?
Nothing really. They're just like, oh, you got tan. Because I remember one summer I went to North Carolina at Oak Island, and it was really hot that day, and I got like dark in like 2 hours.
And if you burn, what happens?
I don't necessarily burn like stinging. I more so peel.
You peel. All right. All right. Hey, so here's the thing. Like, I think we get like, because we've used skin color as a way to stigmatize people and stratify people, skin is one of those really touchy things to talk about, right? So do people say you have good skin?
Sometimes, yes.
What would be bad skin as a black person?
I think, well, as a black person,
Yeah.
I just think acne-prone skin, like not necessarily by color or how dark you are, how light you are. It's just more so like if you have, cystic acne.
Like skin that's not super clear.
Yeah, that's really it.
What's bad skin for a white person?
Yeah, I'd say about the same thing. Yeah, if it's like bumpy and there's acne, that's bad skin.
But also like too white, right? Like if you're too white, like white people, you kind of want to be
Yeah, like the social standard is to be like tan is
a
better.
little bit
Yeah.
tan. Yeah, not too tan, right? But you could be her tan, you could be her skin tone in the summertime for a white person, and would that be?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never seen a white person who has skin as dark as that.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I mean, it's such a fascinating political conversation, right? So the idea, as the two of you said, is the original Homo erectus had darker skin. But as human beings, it just became favorable for human beings to lose our hair. And once we lose our hair, then we lose a natural protection from the sun. And skin cancer isn't just a new recent phenomenon. Skin cancer has been part of the human condition forever. Cancers have been around, but people didn't have sunscreen with SPF of 50 back in the day. They didn't have baseball caps. They didn't have easily wear clothing on their bodies. I mean, the sun is barreling down on folks, but you're protected by, like hair on your bodies and really thick hair. But as you lose that, then you got a problem here because you're getting all these ultraviolet rays of the sun, which you talked about. And so you got to protect yourself from that somehow. So the body had kind of a natural way of doing that by producing different skin pigmentations. Melanin is one, right, which is produces darker skin. And it happens to also protect us from the ultraviolet rays. It just does this thing. But we got to have that sun, the ultraviolet rays, because we need it for vitamin D, we need it for folic acid, we need it for calcium. Like those things are essential, right? So what about people, so when you have really dark skin and you go to the northern climate, like up in northern Russia, what happens there?
I'm so sure you just stick out.
You're going to stick out, but what happens to like your body, right? So,
well, you would, one, lose that pigmentation that you had. So if I tanned and then went on a trip to Russia, I'm so sure that I would start to lighten because of the lack of like direct sun.
yeah.
So
Probably, maybe not in your lifetime, but like, do you ever think about the fact that, bro, do you ever think about the fact, like in the wintertime, State College, like, you know how today is? Today is kind of if you're a freshman, by the way, Anna, this is more typical of State College in the wintertime. Today is. So, yeah. What's that? She lives in Pennsylvania. Ah, yeah, you live in Pennsylvania. Okay, yeah, that's where you're from too. Right. So, if you're in this kind of weather all the time, the darker your skin, the more pigmentation you have. What do you need to do? What do you need to do?
I'm assuming you would lose it
Well,
or lighten.
I mean, I'm encouraged to take vitamin D pills to kind of get those nutrients that I'm
Yeah.
losing because it's the winter. But I feel like that, I don't know if that's specific to.
No. Yeah, for sure. Because listen, we need the sun. The sun helps with calcium, vitamin D, folic acid. And so if you have really darkly pigmented skin and you're in a climate where there's, in the wintertime especially, but anytime where there's not a lot of sun, like in the Netherlands, for example, and you have dark skin and you're not getting that sun, like you're going to need to make sure you go out and get every bit that you can because that sun is really important. So like so people like us, there are public service announcements for Weston and I that say like, hey, if you go out in the sun, make sure you protect yourself from the ultraviolet rays of the sun, because every time you get sunburn, it's a problem, right? You don't want to peel, by the way. Peeling is an indication that you've done damage to your skin and you don't want to do that. So people like us say like, hey, put that lotion on and protect yourself. Too many ultraviolet rays could lead to skin cancer. But there's an equal PSA, public service announcement, for people like Santi, but less Santi because Santi's skin is more lightly pigmented. But for a couple of the women who were just up here who have much more darkly pigmented skin, the PSA is, look, in the wintertime, when you're living in a place like this where there's not a lot of sun, make sure you go out in the sun and you get that because it's essential for vitamin D and calcium and folic acid and so on. Make sure you go get that. But I don't hear public service announcements for black people on those issues. Like, you don't hear that. Like, we hear it for us, like, hey, skin cancer, but you don't hear the other, which is, hey, you need to maintain your healthy body. You got to make sure you go out and you get that sun, man, get those rays in there. You're protected already. For you, you're kind of protected. But if you have really darkly pigmented skin, you're really protected. So go get the sun. You need as much as possible. By the way, any final comments?
I was just going to say it was kind of like the same thing for COVID. Like my mom started giving me D3 pills because we weren't going outside as much.
Yeah, so people had an idea early on. Hang on, this is the last comment here. Early on with COVID, we saw a higher death rate for dark-skinned people around the world. And the idea was, maybe there's something with calcium. Like there's really something there's a calcium deficiency that's actually giving rise to higher COVID rates.